Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesa Sunyavadi Paschatya Desatarine Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Well, we made it. We weren't sure we were going to make it, but we made it. I was thinking, because for the last time I was in Houston, one of the verses that I spoke about was Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojitaha. You know the verse? Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojitaha Janayati Aishu Vairagyam Jnanam Cha Yadahaitukam. And when I spoke on that verse, somebody from St. Louis said, oh, there's an almost same verse found in 3rd canto, Kapila Dev's instructions to Devahuti. Could you explain that one too? So we made our way into 3rd canto and then started speaking about Kapila Dev. And because Makara Sankranti just popped up in the middle of everything, so we spent some time speaking about Makara Sankranti and Grandfather Bhishma and Gangasagara. And so because just the contemplation about Grandfather Bhishma has continued, so I thought for this evening, we'd like to speak something about Grandfather Bhishma and part of the very complex history of how Grandfather Bhishma's vow brought about his demise in the form of Sikhandi. Now, I know the story reasonably well, but I can't narrate the battle scene so well. So I'm going to read the battle scene because it's like I can't duplicate that. From his youth, Grandfather Bhishma, he wasn't grandfather, he was Deva Vrata, and he became Bhishma when he took his strong vow. Bhishma. That he would, two things, not become king, although he was the firstborn son, but so that his father could marry Satyavati. He wouldn't marry and he wouldn't become a king. So his father married Satyavati, and he, Bhishma, had two brothers. But his father died, Santanu, died before Santanu was able to make marriage arrangements for his two sons. So being the elder brother, he took the role of the father. And he made marriage arrangements. And one of the marriage arrangements was arrangements for the marriage of Vichitravirya, because the other brother, as far as I can recall, his other brother never got married, had not gotten yet married when he was killed. He was killed by a Gandharva who had the same name, and he was like upset. Who are you? I'm Chitrangada. Who are you? You say you're Chitrangada, let's fight. And he killed him. So one brother down, another brother to go. So the Bhismadev narrates this in Mahabharata to the Kauravas because they're making an assessment of the two armies, this side, that side, and he's describing the strength of Arjuna and the other soldiers that are on the side of the Pandavas, and describes them in glowing terms, which was appropriate, Atiratas and Maharatis, and so the Kauravas got a little discouraged. Grandfather Bhishma said, "I also want you to know it's a known fact that I'll be killed by Sikandi." And I heard from Narada Muni about Sikandi. Here's the story. Now, part of it he knew because he was involved. So in the kingdom of Kashi, there was a king who had 3 daughters. And the plan by the king of Kashi was to have the Swayamvar for his 3 daughters, and his 3 daughters could select their husband. It wasn't like a competition kind of Swayamvar, apparently. It just they were going to select. So kings from all over the country came. And Bhishma also came on a swift chariot, and he saw what was going on, and he decided, I'll take all 3 of them with me. Let's just read how it's written in Mahabharata. Upon seeing this, the kings and princes assembled, etc., I remembered that the wise approve of many kinds of marriage, but for a Kshatriya the best is when the bride is snatched from an assembly of warriors after defeating them in a fight. I then announced to the kings that I had decided to carry away all 3 princesses for my younger brother and challenged them to prevent me if they could. Then I took all 3 maidens onto my chariot and sped away. The kings were at first surprised, then furious. They pulled on their armor and mounted their chariots. Soon hundreds of them were in pursuit. Thousands of arrows showered down upon my chariot, but I dexterously avoided them all. As the princesses trembled in fear, I took up my own bow and turned to face the kings. I countered the shower of their shafts with my own. At the same time, I pierced every one of my antagonists. So swiftly did I shoot my arrows that my foes were completely confounded and could only applaud my prowess. Some were killed, and others had their weapons smashed and their armor torn off. They retreated and fled in various directions. But one didn't flee. Who's the one that didn't flee? Huh? No, Bhishma. It's like our trying to get out here in today's traffic. Shalva. Shalva. Remember? You don't remember. Okay. Shalva, however, continued to chase me. He was determined to win the hand of one of the maidens, and he rushed after me, shouting, "Stop! Stop!" Provoked, I faced him. A furious but short-lived battle ensued. I soon overpowered Shalva and destroyed his chariot, although I decided not to kill him. Who killed Shalva eventually? Starts with a K. That comes later, though, much later. I then returned to Hastinapur, with the 3 maidens. When I arrived in Hastinapur, the eldest princess, Amba, approached me and said, I've already given my heart to Shalva, and Shalva has already given his heart to me. But here I am in Hastinapur with you. So what should I do? And Bhismadev said, well, you've given your heart to Shalva, so I can't have you married to my brother. So you should either go back to Shalva or go back to your father. I asked her to wait while I discussed the matter with the Brahmins. It was concluded that Amba should be allowed to go to Shalva city and offer herself to him. We gave her an escort of priests and maidservants and sent her to Shalva. When he saw her, however, he said, Fair lady of fair complexion, I no longer desire to accept you as my wife, for you have already been taken by another. You were led away cheerfully by Bhishma before all the other kings. How can I, who must lay down the law for others, now accept you? You have been touched by another according to the holy books. I cannot now accept you as my wife. Doors closed. Amba tried to open the door. Shalva is pleading that she had not been happy to be kidnapped. She had gone to Shalva at the first opportunity. The king was adamant. He would not accept her. He told the disappointed princess to return to Hastinapur. Weeping, she thought. She didn't go. She thought, what woman in the world could fall into greater trouble than the predicament I now face? I have been robbed of my friends. Shalva has wronged me. Neither can I return to Hastinapur. Neither can I go home in such shame and be rejected by everyone. Many doors were closed. She didn't know what to do besides cry. She thought about it, and Amba considered the one to be blamed for this misfortune is Bhishma. She wanted revenge. Rather than return to Hastinapur, she chose to go to hermitage and stay the night. In the morning, the hermits found her, crying, and what's wrong? She told the story. And she felt that all this had happened due to her past sins, and that by practicing penance, she could become purified. They said, we're rishis. What can we do to help? We can't get involved in these things. Please allow me to stay and do austerities here. The rishis consulted. They felt Shalva should accept her back. Then they advised her to return to her father. I can't go back. It's too shameful. I'm totally humiliated. I'll suffer disgrace. Pride was getting in the way. So as they're discussing, lo and behold, there's another sage whose name is Hotra Vahana. Hotra means like fire sacrifice. Vahana, Hotra Vahana. So he, Hotra Vahana, happened to be her maternal grandfather. So he had more, investment in the whole situation. He heard the whole situation. And Hotra Vahana made a suggestion. Parshuram is the guru of Bhishma. And it just so happens he's going to come in a couple of days. He's scheduled to show up. So let's present the matter to Parshuram. And either he'll convince Bhishma to accept you, or he'll slay him in battle. Wait and see. So Parshuram came. And the next day, he arrived early in the morning, clad in black deerskins, surrounded by his disciples, with an axe over his shoulder and a bow in his hand. He was a frightful sight. Long matted locks hung down to his shoulders. His eyes blazed like fire. After he had been properly received and worshipped by the other sages, he sat down with Hotra Vahana and heard the whole Amba story. He called for her and said, "You are as dear to me as you are to Hotra Vahana, maternal grandfather. Tell me what I should do. If you like, I can order Bhishma to accept you. If he will not, then I will consume him and all his ministers in battle. Or, if you prefer, I will order Shalva. Tell me your decision." Her decision was very clear. Bhishma needs to be killed. I want revenge. Bhishma needs to be killed. So he said, I can't do something like this unless I'm ordered by some Brahmana. Guess what? A Brahmana showed up. Hotra Vahana's friend, named Akrit Vahana, said, "Kill him." Okay, I got the green signal from a Brahmana. So let's go to Hastinapur. He approached Bhima. Bhima's narrating all of this. I worshipped him with all respect. And then he said with anger in his voice, "Oh, Bhishma, in what consciousness did you kidnap Amba? Although you took her by force, then you sent her away. You have robbed her of her virtue, for no other man will now accept her. Therefore, you should accept her, either for your brother or for yourself." Bhishma said, I replied, "I cannot by any means take back this maiden, for she has given her heart to another. It is always wrong for a virtuous man to accept such a woman. I cannot renounce my duty out of fear, greed, attachment, or piety. This is my vow, O Parshuram." So then Parshuram says, if you don't do what I say, then we'll have to have battle. He said this repeatedly, and I tried in many ways to calm him with gentle words. Realizing that he was bent upon fighting, I asked, "Why do you wish to fight with me, O best of your race? In my childhood, I was your pupil, and you taught me the military arts." Parshuram, "Although I am your preceptor, you have not obeyed my command. There is only one way to gratify me. Either accept this maiden and perpetuate your race, or prepare yourself for death." Then comes some important teachings out of all of this. My Guru's words found no place in my heart. I replied, "O Lord, what you're commanding me to do, I cannot do. What foolish man would accept into his house a woman sighing for another? Furthermore, I made a solemn vow to never marry. I see no virtue in your order. The god, Vayu, has stated that," listen to this, this is the basis under which a preceptor can be rejected. Congratulations, you made it through the gate and everything.
Through the exit side.
It's been an interesting evening, I'll tell you. So we're hearing Bhismadev narrating his conversation with Parshuram about not accepting the hand of Amba in marriage. And he's giving reasons, the 3 reasons why a particular instruction, not the guru, but the particular instruction of the guru can be rejected or neglected or something. Here we go. The god Vayu has stated that a preceptor may be abandoned if he is vain, has swerved from the right path, or does not know his proper duties. I see no sin in fighting with you on this occasion rather than accepting your order. You are asking me to engage in an unrighteous act only for your profit. Witness now the strength of my arms and my superhuman prowess. Let us go to Kurukshetra. Slain by my arrows, you will attain the glorious regions you have earned by asceticism, O you whose only wealth is devotion. By then, I myself, infuriated, I added, you boast that you have conquered the entire Kshatriya race, but today I will prove that boast false. When you defeated the Kshatriyas, I had not yet been born, nor anyone like me. You consumed straw. He who will end your boasts and your desire for battle has now been born. I will destroy your pride. Do not doubt it. Ooh, talking like that to Parshuram, you're in trouble. The sage smiled. It is fortunate, O Bhishma, that you wish to fight. I will thus curb your arrogance. We will fight at Kurukshetra. There your mother, Ganga, will see you thrown down and turned into food for vultures. O ruler of the earth, your mother does not deserve to see such a sight, but it must be so, for you are foolish and overly proud. So like strong words back and forth. I bowed before the sage and said, be it so. After performing propitiatory rites to invoke the Brahman's blessings, I mounted my chariot and headed out of the city, equipped with all my weapons. I shielded my chariot with a white umbrella and yoked my white horses, which can move with the speed of the wind. As I moved off, the bards and singers eulogized me. I arrived at Kurukshetra and saw Rama waiting there, grasping his huge bow. Thousands of his followers were present, and around the battlefield stood numerous rishis. In the sky I saw the gods, headed by Indra. Celestial music sounded, and flowers fell from the heavens. The battle scene is about to begin. Before it begins, Ganga comes in her human form, asking Bhishma, what do you wish to do, my dear son? When I told her, she reproved me. You should not fight with a Brahmin. Do not fight Jamadagni's son. His strength is equal to that of Shiva. He exterminated the Kshatriya race. You know all this. Why then have you come to fight with him? I explained to my mother all that had happened and made it clear that I would not now turn back. So that she went to Parshuram, pleaded with him. He was determined to fight, to teach me a lesson. Helpless to stop either side, my mother retired from the battlefield, feeling anxious for my sake. So this is battle. Young boys really love these scenes. You like battle scenes? Yeah. Get ready. It gets intense, and it gets more intense, and it gets more intense, and it gets more intense, and it gets really mystical, and then it's over. Battle scene. Better than our car ride coming out here, I tell you. I looked across at Parshuram and saw that he had no chariot or coat of mail. I called out, "How can I fight you while you stand upon the earth, O Ram? Mount a chariot and put on your armor, for I will now release my weapons." Parshuram laughed. "The earth is my chariot, the Vedas are my horses, and the wind is my driver. The mothers of the Vedas, Gayatri, Savitri, and Saraswati, are my armor. Well protected by all of them, I shall fight." The sage immediately covered me on all sides with a thick shower of arrows. Now the battle scene goes on for several pages. You like battle scenes? Yeah? Okay, good. Repelling his shafts, I saw him mount a blazing chariot that resembled a city. Celestial horses were yoked to it, and it was protected and ornamented by golden armor and decorations. The chariot was wonderful to behold, and had been created by his will. Clad in brilliant armor, he stood upon it, looking like Yamaraj, surrounded by the personified Astras. His disciple, the same fellow that came with the Brahmin and had said to Parshuram to fight, Akritavana, who had requested him to fight, had become his charioteer. A Brahmin charioteer. Pretty cool. And he dexterously wheeled the chariot about as Ram called out, "Come, come!" I repelled another 2 showers of arrows. Then I dismounted my chariot, putting down my weapons. I went over to the sage and prostrated myself on the ground. "Whether you are my equal in battle or my superior, I will fight with you, O my Lord, even though you are my preceptor. Bless me, that I may obtain victory." He said, "Sorry, I can't bless you with that request. Go and fight fairly with patience." I returned to my chariot, blew my conch, signaling the start of the battle. Both of us hurled every kind of weapon at each other, each desiring victory. We fought furiously. Laughing, I released broad-headed shafts, which chopped his bow into fragments again and again. Other arrows passed clean through his body. He came out dripping blood, although he has a spiritual body, entering the earth like hissing serpents. But his spiritual power, by his spiritual power, the sage maintained his life and fought back with fearsome energy, covered with blood. Rama stood on his chariot like a mountain pouring forth lava. He responded with well-sharpened arrows that struck me like thunderbolts. Pierced in my vital organs, I trembled and held onto my flagstaff for support. I summoned all my patience, regaining my composure, and released 100 deadly shafts at Ram. Struck by my arrows, Ram fell senseless to the floor of his chariot. And this is going to go on for some days. It's just getting started. I was immediately seized by remorse. What have I done? I've slain my own preceptor, a virtuous Brahmin. I dropped my weapons and held my head in anguish, but Ram soon rose again, his charioteer having expertly removed the arrows and tended him. The sun set, and we retired for the day, coming together in the evening as friends. Next day, at sunrise, we faced each other again on the battlefield. Ram shot blazing arrows with serpent-like mouths. I cut them down with my own arrows, even as they sped through the air. The sage then resorted to celestial weapons, which I countered with my own. During the violent exchange of weapons, I was suddenly caught on the chest by a dart that rendered me unconscious. My charioteer quickly removed me from the battle, and all of Ram's followers, along with Amba, sent up a cheer. After some time, I regained consciousness and ordered my charioteer to take me back into the battle. He urged on my horses, which seemed to dance as they bore us toward Rama. As soon as I saw him, I fired hundreds of straight flying arrows that screamed through the air, but Rama cut every one of them into pieces with his own arrows, and they fell uselessly to the ground. Then I sent hundreds more shafts at Ram. Even as he was countering my last assault, he was caught off guard and knocked unconscious as he fell from his chariot. A loud cry of, "Alas!" I've never heard anybody call out "alas," but it happens all the time in the Bhagavatam or in Mahabharata. "Alas!" went up from his followers.
Is there a Sanskrit word for that?
Huh?
Is there a Sanskrit word for that?
I don't know. This is English. Seeing him dropping to the earth like the sun fallen from the sky, the Kashi princess, that's Amba, right? Amba, the Kashi princess? You're not answering.
Yes.
Oh. He has to look at his GPS. It's like they had two GPSs going and they're saying different things. Hare Krishna. Okay. Seeing him dropped to the earth, like the sun fallen from the sky, the Kashi princess, along with his many disciples, ran over and comforted him. They sprinkled his face with cool water and uttered benedictory hymns. Rama slowly rose and looked across at me, seated on my chariot. Enraged, he shouted, "Stay, Bhishma, you are already killed." And even before remounting his chariot, he shot an arrow which seemed like the rod of death. It hit my right side and sent me spinning. As I reeled, Rama killed my horses. He simultaneously covered me with 1,000 more arrows without becoming confounded. I countered his attack with lightness of hand. I don't know what that means. Like easily, I guess. Lightness of hand.
Fast.
Easily.
Quick.
Quickly.
Skillfully.
As I struck down his arrows, my charioteer quickly fetched fresh horses. Replacement for the horses that got killed. A terrible exchange went on between us. Our celestial arrows met in midair and stayed there without falling. The sky became covered with a network of arrows that screened the sun. Rama shot thousands, then tens of thousands, then millions of arrows at me, which I duly countered with divine weapons. A great fire appeared in the sky, reducing the surrounding forests to ashes. As we fought on in this way, the sun set. That's day number 2. And the battle subsided. We fought for many days, utilizing every celestial weapon in all forms of combat the Vedas describe. Rama released missiles which can hardly be described. They assumed diverse forms and came from every direction. I was continuously whirling in my chariot, repelling his weapons and trying to counteract with my own. Both of us sought gaps in our opponent's defenses, and we both defended ourselves closely. The battle raged through the day, and at night we rested. We were both extremely exhausted from the fighting. On the 23rd day, Rama fought with redoubled strength. All of a sudden, he fired a number of arrows which fell upon my horses and charioteer like venomous serpents. They were all slain, and I was left standing on an immobile chariot as Rama shot arrows charged with death at me. As I fought off his shafts, Rama fired a powerful missile that came at me like a streak of lightning. It caught me in the chest and threw me backwards off the chariot. I fell on the ground a full 50 paces away. Thinking me dead, Rama roared like a thundercloud, and all of his followers cheered. The Kurus, who had accompanied me, were overwhelmed with sorrow. As I lay there stupefied, I saw, listen to this, to the rescue, 8 brilliant Brahmins with celestial forms surrounding me. They raised me off the ground and gently supported me. Sprinkling my face with cool water, they said, "Do not be afraid. You will soon be successful." Revived and comforted, I stood up and saw my chariot yoked to fresh horses that my mother was tending. I touched her feet and worshipped the memory of my ancestors. Then I ascended the chariot and sent her away. I took the reins and continued fighting. I managed to catch him with an arrow of great power that pierced him deeply. He dropped to his knees, and his bow slipped from his grasp as he fell down senseless. Then I saw many inauspicious omens. The sky rained blood, and meteors fell. The sun was eclipsed. High winds blew and the earth trembled, but Rama was only stunned. In a short while he got back up on his feet and continued the fight. Both of us threw our fiercest weapons at each other until the sun set, when we again retired for the night. That was day 23. That night, as I lay on my bed, my mangled body being tended by physicians, I thought that this battle would never end. I prayed to the gods that they would show me some way to overcome Rama. Then, while I was sleeping, I again saw the 8 Brahmins who had visited me on the battlefield, comforted me again. They said, "Fear not, O son of Ganga, you are our own body, and we will give you all protection. You will surely vanquish Rama. Here is a weapon which was known to you in your previous birth, manufactured by Vishwakarma. It is called Prashwapa. Prashwapa. That's how it's spelled, anyway. And no one on earth knows it, not even Rama. Call it to mind in the battle tomorrow, and it will come to you. Rama will be thrown down by that weapon, but not killed. He cannot be slain, but he will be defeated and rendered unconscious by the Prashwapa. You will then be able to revive him with the Sambodhana weapon." The Brahmins vanished, and I awoke. The sun rose, and the battle began again. Encouraged by the celestial Brahmins, I was enlivened and fought with renewed energy. After a furious exchange of weapons, I thought of the Prashwapa. The mantras suddenly appeared in my mind, and as they did, I heard a tumultuous uproar of heavenly voices. "Oh, Bhishma, do not release the Prashwapa missile." Disregarding them, I placed the weapon in my bow and aimed it at Ram. Suddenly, Narada Rishi appeared before me, saying, "The gods are stationed in the sky, and they forbid you to use this weapon. Rama is an ascetic, a Brahmin, and your preceptor, O son of Kuru. Do not humiliate him by any means." As Narada spoke, I again saw the 8 Brahmins in the heavens. They smiled and said, "O best among the Bharatas, obey Narada. This will benefit all creatures." Parshuram, seeing the irresistible Prashwapa on my bow, and not realizing that I had been forbidden to release it, shouted, "Alas! Oh, Bhishma, I am vanquished," and he dropped his bow. His father, Jamadagni, along with other heavenly rishis, then came to him and ordered him to stop fighting. They told him that I was one of the 8 Vasus and that he could not slay me in battle. Jamadagni said, "Arjuna, the powerful son of Indra, will later cause Bhishma's death. Brahma has ordained this." That's Jamadagni speaking. So the battle ended. Severely wounded, I went before my preceptor and prostrated myself at his feet. After this, Parshuram said to Amba, "O princess, you have seen me exert myself to defeat Bhishma. Still, I have not been able to overpower him. Therefore, you may go where you please. There's nothing more I can do." She replied, "Be it so, O Holy One. You have done your best on my behalf, and I am grateful. Still, my heart burns with revenge. I will practice asceticism. In this way, I will gain the power to personally bring about Bhishma's death." Now, if Parshuram can't, then what's her asceticism going to do? Not very intelligent. My preceptor was highly pleased with my prowess, and he blessed me that I would be without any equal in battle. After Amba bowed before him, he left with all his followers. Amba then entered the forest. She went to the Yamuna and performed severe penance. I knew everything because when I returned to Hastinapur, I appointed men to watch over her constantly. They gave me regular reports. For 1 year, she stood on the riverbank without eating. Emaciated and rough-skinned, bronzed by the sun, her hair matted, she stood with hands upraised. Sounds like Hiranyakashipu. After 1 year, she broke her fast by eating a single dry, yummy leaf. Then she remained waist-deep in the water for another year, standing on 1 foot, fired with indignation. For 12 years, she went on this way. Neither her relatives nor anyone else could convince her to desist. Then she left the Yamuna and wandered at will, visiting the sacred hermitages of many rishis. All the while, she continued her austerities, bathing 3 times daily, meditating silently, and fasting. Her appearance changed from gentle to fierce, and she began to glow with ascetic power. One day, as she was bathing in the Ganges, my mother said, "Why do you perform such terrible penance, O maiden?" Amba replied, "I desire to destroy Bhishma, who was so powerful that not even Parshuram could defeat him. Thus I am set upon achieving insuperable power by my austerities. And there's like 5 more pages to go. It's intriguing, though. My ocean-going mother became angry upon hearing her words. O lady, you act crookedly. You will not be able to attain your object because you are so weak, O daughter of Kashi. If you hold to your determination, I will curse you to become a terrible river in which water flows in you only during the rainy season. May you be full of crocodiles and other fierce aquatics. Saying this, and pretending to smile, my mother vanished, leaving Amba in her waters. Still, the princess did not desist. She performed even more severe austerities, abstaining from all food and water and controlling even her breathing. She wandered on, and when she arrived at Vatsa Bhumi, she fell down and began to run as a river. It is recorded that the river in Vatsa Bhumi runs only during the rainy season and is unapproachable due to its many crocodiles and dangerous fish. By merit of her austerities, however, only half of her body became a river, while the other half continued as before. Wonder which half? She went on with her asceticism, and after some time the rishis at Vatsa Bhumi approached her. They asked her what she desired, and when she had explained, they said, you should seek Mahadev's favor, for that deity can fulfill any desire. Amba appealed to Lord Shiva, and he soon appeared before her, asking to know her desire. When she asked the god for me, he replied, you will slay him. Amba then asked, how would it be possible, since she was a woman? Shiva replied, my words can never be false. O Blessed One, you will become a man and kill Bhishma in battle. You will remember all this in your next life. Born in Drupada's line, you will become a Maharatha, quick in the use of weapons and highly skilled and fierce in battle. This will come to pass soon. When Shiva vanished, Amba gathered wood and built herself a funeral pyre in the sight of all the rishis, setting fire to it. Her mind burning with wrath, she hurled herself into the pyre, crying, for the destruction of Bhishma. Vyavasayatmika buddhi. So, Sikandi was Amba. In his last life, he was born first as a woman and then attained his present form. Listen as I tell you how this occurred. Drupada's queen was childless for a long time. Together she and her husband worshipped Shiva for a child. He, Drupada, prayed for a powerful son, but Shiva told him that his wife would give birth to a daughter who would later be transformed into a man. Although Drupada beseeched the god for only a son, Shiva replied, it shall be as I have said, for it has been decreed by destiny. Soon after, Drupada's queen conceived. In due course, she gave birth to a daughter. Remembering Shiva's words, Drupada announced that a son had been born. He had all the rituals performed for a boy. No one saw the baby. Only a few trusted palace staff knew the truth. Drupada raised his child with love, teaching her writing and all the arts. He also had her instructed in bowmanship, and other martial skills. When she became a youth, the queen asked Drupada to find a suitable wife. Drupada was anxious to find her a suitable wife. The child had not been transformed into a son. Were Shiva's words false? But his wife was fixed. Mahadev's promise cannot fail. Sikandi will become a male, and therefore you should marry him to a woman. Drupada was convinced by the queen's faith and arranged for a marriage. He chose the daughter of Hiranya Varman. Hiranya Varman, king of the Dasharnakas. That king was unconquerable, and he was happy to give his daughter to Drupada's son. No one suspected anything when the wedding ceremony was performed. The youthful Sikandi, beautiful like a god, appeared dressed as a boy in fine armor. She remembered the events of her previous life and Shiva's words, so even though she had been born a woman, she conducted herself as if she were a man. It was only a matter of time before Hiranyavarma's daughter discovered the truth. She sent messengers to her father and informed him that Drupada's son was actually a woman. His father was furious. He sent an emissary to Drupada saying, "I am insulted by your wickedness. How could you have accepted my daughter in marriage for your own daughter? I am prepared now to come and punish you for this act. Soon I will slay you and all your ministers." Quite an intrigue, huh? Drupada was caught like a thief. There was nothing he could say. He tried to convince Shikandi's wife that her, quote, husband, so Shikandi's wife, that her, quote, husband would in fact soon become a male, but all to no avail. The girl's father amassed a large army and marched on Kampilia. Drupada was alarmed. He said to his wife, "Fools that we are, we have brought a great calamity upon our heads. We are in danger. What should we do now, in your opinion?" Drupada and his wife concluded that their only recourse was to worship the gods. Drupada supplicated the deities, while Hiranyavarma advanced on his country. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, Sikandi, in sorrow at the danger she felt she had brought on them all, left the city. Resolved to take her own life, she entered the forest in an area that was the home of the powerful Yaksha, named Stuna. Finding his abode, Stuna, a white palace washed with lime, she entered it and sat down to practice austerities. A few days later, Stuna returned and saw her sitting there, her body reduced from fasting. Kind by nature, he asked her why she was performing asceticism. The Yaksha said, "Tell me if I can do anything to help you." Sikandi replied, "No one could give me what I desire." But Stuna didn't agree. "I can surely give you whatever you wish, O princess. I am Kuvera's attendant and can grant boons. I will bestow even the unbestowable. Tell me what you desire." Sikandi related the whole story in detail, concluding, "The only way to save the present situation is that I attain my manhood, O faultless one." The Yaksha, saddened by her story and feeling afflicted by destiny, considered her request carefully. Finally he replied, "Truly this must be so. I will, however, make a condition. I am able to grant your wish only by changing my sex with yours, but you must return my manhood after a short time." Sikandi agreed to return to Stuna as soon as Hiranyavarma left Kampilia. The two then exchanged sexes, and Sikandi went back to her father's palace. When Hiranyavarma's army arrived at Kampilia, he dispatched the priest, his priest, to Drupada, saying, "Come out and give me battle. Vile one, you have cheated me." But then Sikandi had returned in a male form. Drupada said, "There's been a mistake, O Holy One. The king has been misinformed. See for yourself my son's gender." The surprised Hiranyavarma had a number of beautiful maidens sent to examine Sikandi. When they informed him that Drupada's son was indeed male, he entered Kampilia with a glad heart. He stayed with Drupada for some time and finally returned to his own country, happy in his newfound alliance with Drupada. Yay! But there's another 4 pages. Not over yet. Stuna had concealed himself in his palace, waiting for Shikandi's return. As he waited, Kuvera happened to pass by. Coursing through the skies in his heavenly chariot, he saw Stuna's palace, shining beautifully and adorned with colorful banners, gems, and garlands. Descending, he approached the palace, but when no one came out to greet him, he angrily asked his attendants, "What fool lives here? Why does he not greet me?" Some yakshas then informed Kuvera what had transpired, that they told him that Stuna was hiding in shame in his palace. Kuvera replied, "Bring that foolish one here, I will punish him." Stuna came out. In his woman's form, he stood bashfully before his master Kuvera. "Why have you acted in this way?" Kuvera asked. "You have humiliated the yakshas by giving away your sex. Therefore, I curse you not to regain your masculinity. Sikandi, too, will not regain her female form." The other yakshas felt compassion for Stuna. After all, he had acted only out of kindness. They asked Kuvera to set a limit on his curse so that Stuna would not be always punished. Kuvera said, "When Sikandi dies, Stuna will regain his male form. Let him be free of anxiety." The powerful Kuvera, who can travel long distances in a moment, then left with his followers. Shortly afterward, Sikandi returned. "O Stuna, as we have agreed, I will now return your manhood." Stuna replied, "It has been ordained that manhood should be yours for this life. O noble one, please be pleased to return to your abode." Hearing this, Sikandi returned in joy to Kampilia. When Bhishma finished telling this long story, he added, "Thus Sikandi, formerly Amba, hates me. But because he was first born a woman, I will never raise weapons against him. I have vowed this: I will not fight with weapons against women, or those who bear women's names, or even those who appear like women. O Duryodhana, I will not fight with Sikandi, even if he attacks me, desiring my death." So the remaining part is the battle between Bhishma and Sikandi. Should I read that? I can't stop, right? the end of the 9th day of the battle, the Mahabharata battle. There is also the prophecy regarding Sikandi. Somehow, Sikandi will be involved in Bhishma's destruction. The grandfather's death is imminent. He has lost his good sense and no longer knows right from wrong. Let us therefore act now and bring about his end, Yudhishthira replied. It is exactly as you say, Madhusudana. You are capable of destroying the entire universe with all its moving and non-moving creatures. With your support alone, I am sure to obtain everything I desire. But I cannot let your words be falsified for my sake. It is already enough that you came close to breaking your promise today. You must not kill Bhishma. I think we will be able to find some other means, my lord. Yudhishthira's brothers nodded their approval. Krishna was like their second half. They would never be able to tolerate him being criticized. Krishna's words were meant to guide all men. If he broke his word, then others would follow his example